Yeah. Yeah, you definitely can. I just turned them all on now because I didn't know how long they were gonna be to like do stuff.
Right. Whoa, he like scooted these back, I feel, and they're way more organized than normal, so.
Yeah, you people are gonna be in here.
Oh, I'm moving this stool back just so people aren't confused.
I'm not. I'm just going to this spot.
Johnny! It's no one. You're lying.
Okay, I think I'll go to the back. Sit on these nice comfy chairs that you got going on here.
Yeah, I speak fit.
It's hot in here too. Why is it hot everywhere?
Pretty neat stool. You have to sit on these?
Yeah, for the
He
sun.
knows it! I don't like him at
Crash
all.
out would be the best seat.
Oh, this is great.
Okay, get out of here, that is my spot, I literally have my stuff here.
Wow.
Where's that chair?
You tell him. I don't like him at all.
Again, in Australia.
Oh, they got a chair here.
They are getting
Don't
us.
touch it, it's recording.
That's your life.
They're about to get us. They got us in 14. We're back.
Sorry for Larry. Do we have to be for 7?
What? Are these supposed to be like wobble chairs or like?
Yeah.
No, not really, there's a button and you can push
Shall
it
you
down.
run on, Billy?
If you want to make it.
Unless yours is broken.
Yeah, there's no button so you can touch the ground. My feet are too short. And then you have to sit on it, you have to sit on it to make it go down, otherwise it goes down. It's just gonna go out. You have to sit on it, so when you're on it, like reach underneath your butt.
Say hi. Look at that.
You still wobble.
Want to trade? This one, there you got it.
People wobble, but they all fall down.
Well, these people waffles might fall down.
Should we make like an announcement?
So I do humorous prose, and it's entitled, what? Oh yeah, songs or the stones. Please and thank you. Yeah. What? That's what it is.
I think it's. Yeah, it's live, that's good.
Good? Okay. Anyway, so yeah, this is entitled Forensic Nightmare. The speech that I will present today is an original oratory entitled The Psychology of Fashion in the Modern Teen. A common misconception today is how one dresses reflects the way in which one sees him or herself functioning in our society. But I beg to differ. I believe the way in which one chooses to dress is actually a statement about how one wishes to be seen. For example, is a person clad in all black truly a gothic personality? Or is he or she actually a timid soul who wishes to be seen as an intimidating force? All of us understand the hard work and dedication involved in writing, researching, and memorizing a speech that will wow the audience. And then, the moment your name is called, everyone's eyes are on you. The pressure to say something meaningful can be intense. But what happens when you speak your mind instead of your prepared speech? Find out in Forensic Nightmare by Deborah Krasuski. Let us consider the latter scenario. This point of view is aptly described in the following quote by Dr. M. Robert Gummer, who said, this point of view is aptly described in the following quote by Dr. M. Robert Gummer, who said, okay, wait, I know this. This point of view is aptly described as, ugh! Oh, now you're looking at me? Yeah, for the past few minutes you've been staring at the posters behind me. I realize that diagrams of an army of sperm swimming after one puny little egg are far more interesting than I am. I'm not blind. I'm up here busting my butt, and your eyes are glued to the sex ed show behind me. You know, there ought to be rules about which rooms can be allowed for these stinking forensics contests. Like, no rooms may be used that could be distractions for the judges. Or, the only judges who may judge are those who have already been taught about the birds and the bees. Oh, now you're looking at me? I'm more interesting now. Don't you dare interrupt me. I still have my allotted time. I still have what? 5 minutes. Don't even try to take my time away from me. It's mine. Mine. I worked so hard, so darn hard. I spent hours writing and rewriting my original oratory. And then, when my pain-in-the-butt coach decided to edit the piece like a scribbling maniac, I rewrote even more. Then, I memorized and memorized 4 weeks. It doesn't come easily to me like Clarence Darrow over there. Yeah, that kid, the one who went first. Who does he think he is anyway? With his perfect suit, his preppy tie, his thuses and his hences. I mean, please. Bet it was a snap for a lawyer boy to learn his original oratory. But me, I worked my tail off. You listened to Preppy Boy, though, didn't you? You didn't resort to gawking at sperm posters during his speech. In every single stinking competition, you judges pick somebody like Clarence Darrow because he's so squeaky clean. So la-dee-da. Why not pick somebody who has had to sit through millions of these stupid contests and watch everybody win except her? Huh? Oh, I know. It's not if you win that matters, it's how you play the game. Baloney. You want to tell me that all these people are here to sit for hours, to sweat like pigs, to listen to their stomach acids churn, to watch an endless train of people recite their boring speeches because they like to play the game? Oh, I know. Rejection thickens the skin. It builds character. It prepares you for the real world. Baloney. If rejection thickens the skin, then I must be a frickin' armadillo by now. It builds character? Character? Yeah, right. And how the heck can this experience prepare me for the real world? Do you expect me to look down at my patient on the operating table, take one step forward, and begin my original oratory? Am I? I know. Maybe I'll become a psychologist. Then I can recommend forensics contests to my most needy patients. I can expound on the merits of humiliation as a cure for those who lack self-confidence. Don't give me the line about, speech competitions are a wonderful way to make new friends. Not 10 minutes ago, that girl in the blue skirt. Yeah, the one that looks like a runway model. Not 10 minutes ago did this new friend decide to chat with the competition. She began by asking everyone where we went to school. When it was my turn to answer, I said, Chesterville High School. Miss Pris over there lifted her nose up even higher than it already is and said, never heard of it. Hello, this is Chesterville High School. We're hosting the competition. And you want to know the worst part? I don't even hate you guys. I should, but I don't. Not even Clarence Darrow. Not even Miss Nose in the ozone layer. I don't hate any of you guys. You know why not? Because I want to be just like you. I want to be confident and self-assured. I want to be able to dress for success and not feel like I'm in somebody else's body. It would feel so great to be able to walk into a room full of strangers and feel comfortable enough to start chatting, even if it's just small talk. It's just not fair. Why can't I be like all of you? Why can't I write a speech that would make my coach say, I have never read anything so brilliant in my life. It's so real, so touching, so passionate. Don't change a word, it's perfect. Why can't I learn my lines and feel secure because the words are like second nature to me? Why can't I make my audience cry with empathy and shake with spontaneous laughter? Why can't I keep the judge's mind off the posters behind me? Why can't I walk and talk at the same time? For heaven's sake, you heard the beginning of my speech. I am well aware that my gestures look stiff and contrived. I should. Those words are in every judge's critique that I've ever received. It's just not fair. Why can't I be like all of you? The Psychology of Fashion in the Modern Teen. What a lame title, isn't it? You want to hear the irony? Doesn't matter what I wear. If I dress like a lawyer wannabe, or a fashion model, or a goth, or a punk, or even a clown, it wouldn't make 1 ounce of difference. I'd still just be me. I'd still try so hard to be somebody I'm not, somebody worthwhile. But I'd still just be me. This is a tad embarrassing. What did you say? Guess that's all I got to say. So, thank you. It doesn't look like anybody's coming down the hall, so whoever's next. Didn't my shirt out.
My name's Savannah for the ones writing out on their sheet. With an H.
Instructions on having the perfect panic attack. Find a trigger. A job interview. The claustrophobia of mass transit. Deciding what to have for dinner. It will help if you have a chronic condition, severe depression, an anxiety disorder, asthma. This is ideal, but may not be possible for everyone. Your body will instinctively revert to its most primal state, fearing for your life. Your sympathetic nervous system will activate its fight or flight response in the face of this perceived danger. This decision between Chipotle and Chinese food. According to the National Bullying Prevention Center, nearly 1 in 4 students report being the victim of bullying throughout their educational career. Bullying has become so common that the world itself has lost its power. From panic attacks to developed anxiety, just a little tease can cause lifelong issues for the victim. Through the poems, After Effects by Unknown, Bullies by Savannah Morrow, She Let Go by Russ Sapphire Rose, and excerpts from The Perfect Panic Attack by Will Aaron, let us not forget the effects of bullying. To Survive a Bully, a poetry book. The body can only panic for a maximum of about 20 minutes. Follow these instructions closely to make the most of this time. Your breathing is the only part of this process you can control. Do not. This would drastically shorten the attack. Focus on the constricting of your ribcage, on your drum major heart conducting this frantic march. Mistake this for a heart attack or a stroke. If successful, you may lose control of your extremities. The caveman in your limbs will tense every muscle to flee its predator. Your arms and legs will go numb, starting at your hands and feet. Every twitch and tingle an attempt to run for your life. Stay in place. Do not go for a walk. Do not call your friends, your mother, a psychiatrist, an ambulance. By now, you should be in full panic. Hyperventilation, cutting off oxygen to your brain. I hate that so many people gave young me incredibly false hope. Therapists that preached, I'm sure you'll feel better when you move out. Teachers that swore these will be the best years of your life. Adults that always repeated, it gets better. Time has passed and I have grown, but I
any better. Only different in the fact that I am no longer being actively abused every single day. I've graduated now, and I don't think that I will ever agree that the years of encompassing my abuse, trauma, and bullying by students and staff were the best years of my life. I moved out 3 years ago. Moving out did not cast a magic spell to change the past or make me feel better about it. I wonder if anyone truly listened. Would I have learned the coping skills I needed for such long-term, horrendous abuse? Would it have, in turn, made me and all of those statements true for me too?
Bryn, you will feel faint. Become certain of your own death. Do not call your friends. Do not call your mother. Do not call your psychiatrist. A panic attack is a remarkably solitary experience. The presence of another person could have a calming effect and cut the attack short. Resist the temptation to fumble a hand through the desk drawer for the medication you have been prescribed for this. Instead, locate the toolkit your grandfather gave you 3 years ago when he told you, "I'm giving you this so you can fix anything," and place it on the desk. Open it. Steady your right hand long enough to grasp the box cutter. Note how close the blood vessels lie in these sheets of your skin. Place the blade of the box cutter to the snare drum in your, at a young age, so small. They tell you that the kicks and the cruel words are just because they like you. I don't feel very light. Sticks and stones may break my bones, and words really do hurt me. Don't fight back, though. Fighting back is igniting the fire. Running away is just a chase to find you at your weakest. You find the dark parts and pluck them out for the world to see. Your whole being is a joke. And there is no help like being bullied by a teenage boy. At this point, your panic attack may begin to ebb. The body can only panic for a maximum of about 20 minutes. As your breathing and heart rate steady, find a bottle of water to hydrate yourself. Drop the box cutter into the garbage can, returning the toolkit to the desk drawer. Distract yourself with a walk or a TV show. Your body will assume it has survived another day, until the next trigger, at which point you will repeat the process. But do remember, you are not having a heart attack. You are not dying. The body can only panic for a maximum of about 20 minutes. And in that time, every piece of you, every basic primal piece of you, is screaming for you to survive. She let go of the committee of indecision within her. She let go of all the right reasons. Fully and completely, she just let go. She let go of all the memories that held her back. She let go of all the anxiety that kept her from moving forward. She let go of all the planning and all the calculations about how to do it just right. She didn't promise to let go. She didn't journal about it. She made no public announcement and put no ad in the paper. She didn't analyze whether she should let go. She didn't call her friends to discuss the matter. She didn't utter one word. She just let go. No one was around when it happened. There was no applause or congratulations. No one thanked her or praised her. No one noticed a thing. Like a leaf falling from a tree, she just let go. There was no effort. And there was no struggle. It wasn't good, it wasn't bad. It was what it was, and it's just that. In the space of letting go, she let it all be. A small smile came across her face. A light breeze blew through her. And the sun and the moon shone forevermore.
I'm Logan. This is an entertainment speech. It's basically just whatever you want. It just has to be funny. You have to have like 3 points. Something like that. I don't really know. Have you ever woken up in the morning and realized you accidentally started a drug cartel? Maybe you ran a black market snack ring out of your 8th grade lunch table. Perhaps you stumbled upon a suspicious briefcase filled to the brim with Benjamins. If you happen to find yourself on any of these slippery slopes, follow my completely legal advice, and you'll find yourself a newly made gazillionaire. Let's learn how to launder money. First, open your washing machine. Just kidding. First, we'll head to the black market and uncover the many ways of earning dirty money. Then, we'll hit the laundromat and learn how to launder our dirty money. And finally, we'll go to the market and shop around for all the spectacular stuff you'll be able to purchase as a gazillionaire. Before long, you'll be a money laundering connoisseur, and you can teach all your friends. First, let's head to the black market and uncover the many ways of earning dirty money. Remember when you were in elementary school and they taught you that drugs were bad? They were just trying to maintain the monopoly controlled by the adults to keep you out of the lucrative business of selling drugs. But you're a smart cookie, and you knew the drug business was the right move. So you told your mama you were having trouble sleeping at home, so she bought you a bottle of melatonin to help you catch some Z's. But you have an ulterior motive, a crime arguably worse than murder. You bring the bottle to school the next day to sell some of the good to your valued patrons. The M stands for melatonin. You charge an absolutely blasphemous $10 for one pill and $15 for a gummy, but you quickly go through the whole bottle in a week, and you're up half a band before you even know it. Speaking of jaywalking, thank you for bringing it up. There are a few things more heartwarming than a generous person. Not only are they a joy to be around, but they're also very easily scammed out of their precious life savings. Picture this. Your very nice old lady neighbor just got a call from the local police station. It's me. Saying her beloved granddaughter got picked up for jaywalking. She's facing a life sentence. But luckily, there's still hope. The police station just needs a measly 10 grand and she's free. Of course, good old Grandma Betty doesn't want her beloved granddaughter to rot in prison, so she quickly coughs up the cash, and you're up 10 grand. Another great way to rake in dough is to be a speech judge, which actually ranks in the top 10 most desired jobs in the world. But do you know what the only bad part about it is? Taxes. You can't really hide the ludicrous amounts of loot you make as a speech judge from the IRS, but they won't know a thing about your melatonin moolah or your con artist cash. Lucky for you, you can avoid serving the time if you successfully commit the secondary crime of money laundering. Next, let's hit the laundromat and learn how to launder our dirty money. If you're dealing with large loads of loot, you need a more efficient laundry machine. Just don't forget to separate your Benjamins and your Washingtons, or you'll end up with a Jackson. Not a bad looking guy. A great way to launder money is by buying abstract art for very large amounts of legal tender. Imagine you buy a painting like this one, worth at most a couple wheat pennies for, say, a couple $100 million. You wait a few years and you sell it for the same price. You now have loads of moolah, completely legal, to spend on whatever your heart desires. If there's anything left over, you can hide it under your mattress. Speaking of mattresses, opening an obscure shop such as a mattress store can be a good way to launder queen-sized amounts of dough without a huge risk of getting in trouble. The idea is you open up a store that sells something obscure enough that people don't buy a lot of, but not too obscure that people get suspicious on why there's a store for it. You buy the store with all your mattress cash, and now that value's wrapped up in the property. Plus, you're mildly enhancing your income by selling mattresses. However, if you're not a fan of mattresses, you can open another obscure shop, such as a used car lot, a pawn shop, a hair salon, or you could even sell seashells by the seashore. This model is effective because you can very easily expand by getting more stores. There are so many diverse ways for you to launder your money. Just make sure you choose the right option to fit your lifestyle. Finally, let's go to the black market and shop around for all the spectacular stuff you'll be able to purchase as a gazillionaire. With all your newfound fortune, you can live like a king. The entire country of Liechtenstein, which is found somewhere in this vicinity, is actually available to rent for the low price of just $70,000 a night. Think of all the things you can do with the whole country. You can host the most grand parties for all your newfound friends that suddenly like you now that you have money. Forget living like a king. You can live like the king. Pablo Escobar. This guy was so rich that he built his house with waterfalls, tennis courts, bullfighting arenas, and even a zoo featuring over 200 exotic animals. Although sadly, on July 22nd, 1992, he was eventually arrested. But then he just built a prison with even cooler stuff. This guy had so much cash that he was able to literally burn several $1 million just to keep his daughter warm through the frigid winter nights. That's a role model parent, if you ask me. Speaking of loneliness, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. The first thing to do with your newfound fortune is to find some friends. I say this because all of you are watching a speech right now, so it's very likely that nobody loves you. Lucky for you, there's a very good solution to this problem. People love money. Most people are willing to completely abandon their morals, principles, and everyone who has ever loved or supported them for a measly amount of money compared to what you will have. All you gotta do is find someone you like, quietly slip a check for a couple $100 million in their pocket with a note telling them to be your friend. Boom, problem solved. Let's face it, your life sucks. Or it did, but now it doesn't, because you know how to make it awesome. If you follow my steps, you can live life truly to the fullest. Your life will be a million gazillion times better. You'll be rich, loved, happy, and finally able to fill the gaping hole in your life. So next time you wake up in the morning and realize you accidentally started a drug cartel, or in a black market snack ring, or stumbled upon a suspicious briefcase, you can handle it like a pro. First, we head to the black market and uncover the many ways of earning dirty money. Then, we hit the laundromat and learned how to launder our dirty money. And finally, we went to the market and shopped around for the spectacular stuff you'll be able to purchase as a gazillionaire. The world is at your fingertips. Hey, you can even start right now.
Monica, you can sit there.
By your mom, by your lovely mom.
Yeah, I had the seat, but I'll let you sit.
Wow, these are nice seats. I know. I've been trying to put that on it. We didn't have anything like this in school. Well, that's right.
No, these seats suck. I have the posture of a
Look at
banana.
this.
We had stones.
It's not supposed to do that. Did you know that?
At least you have seats. We used to sit on.
Back in
A
my
town
day,
pig.
back in my day, we used to sit by the campfire.
We didn't even
I
have
had a
school.
wall.
Right?
I had a long in the
Outside,
woods.
all outside. Freezing cold. I walked up a hill both ways.
My name is Brenna Gadanis. I'm doing a persuasive speech about cancer awareness. Yep, that's it. There are so many ways to die. With every news article, TikTok video, Instagram post, we hear about the things that are killing us. Skin cancer, air pollutants, poorly stored and reheated leftovers, car accidents. As humans, we're vulnerable to a whole host of deadly elements. Unfortunately, There's one silent killer stalking our population today that must be addressed. Colorectal cancer. According to the Mayo Clinic website, there are recently 106,950 new cases of colon cancer just in 2024. Rates have been climbing for decades. In fact, 1 in 25 women and 1 in 23 men have and will be diagnosed with colon cancer in their lifetime. First, it's important to gain a basic understanding of colorectal cancer. Next, we'll cover the symptoms of colon cancer in order to stay vigilant. And finally, I'll present some preventative measures so that we must take combat against this disease. Placing more emphasis on colon cancer will save lives. First, it's important to gain a basic understanding of colorectal cancer. The American Cancer Society tells us that colorectal cancer is a term combining colon cancer and rectal cancer. These two are often lumped together because of their similar features, but there is one way to diagnose them. If it's in the large intestine, it's colon cancer, and if it's in the rectum, it's rectal cancer. For the sake of clarity and consistency, I will focus on colon cancer. The Mayo Clinic website outlines that colon cancer is when cells start to normally grow in the large intestine. These small clumps of cells are called polyps. These polyps aren't always cancerous and can be hard to tell when they are in the large intestine, which is why catching colon cancer early can be so difficult. Since colon cancer affects our large intestine, our ability to absorb water and electrolytes, produce and absorb vitamins, and form and propel waste is severely compromised. As stated by the National Institute of Health, colon cancer is an exponentially growing issue. The World Health Organization released an article stating, colon cancer is the third most common cancer worldwide. You may wonder what the survival rate is for those who are diagnosed. Cancer.net analyzed that 5-year relative survival rate for people is 63%. If the cancer is diagnosed at a localized state, it is 93%. With the survival rate being so low, many people don't make it out. A recent article in the Endoscopy Center, people born in 1990 are 2 times more likely to develop colon cancer and 4 times more likely to develop rectal cancer than people born in 1950. Colorectal cancer incidence and mortality rates in older adults have significantly dropped over the past few decades. Researchers credit this progress in part to improved screening rates. Next, understanding the symptoms of colon cancer is an important step to combating the disease. Major symptoms from the Mayo Clinic article explains that colon cancer concerns changes in your bowel habits. If anything is out of the ordinary, such as diarrhea or constipation, that hasn't resulted from diet changes or obvious illness, you are to go see your doctor immediately. Rectal bleeding, ongoing discomfort in the stomach, like bloating and losing weight without trying, are also possible signs of colon cancer. Your age, family history, and lifestyle are also important indicators of your risk. Mayo Clinic states that most people with colon cancer are older than 50. However, the number of people getting diagnosed younger than 50 have been growing. An article in 2023 on June 9th found that about 5% of people who develop colon cancer have inherited gene changes, mutations, that cause family cancer syndromes and can lead to them getting the disease. From the same article, it states that overweight or obesity plays an important role in it too. Without moving or exercising, you are a cause of colon cancer. Finally, let's find an answer together. The National Library of Medicine states, cancer of the colon is highly treatable and often curable disease when localized in the bowel. Catching it early is very important, and that is the reason for monthly checkups. Scheduling a regular colonoscopy is the best way to catch colon cancer early. If the colonoscopy catches polyps anywhere in your digestive tract, a simple operation is taken where it takes a tissue sample. You are then able to tell whether the the cells are cancerous. Although colon cancer is increasing in our world today, some don't go to the doctors. What is the reason behind this? From a March 25th, 2023 PBS article, nearly a third of Americans lack access to primary care services, while 40% of U.S. adults say they're delaying care or going without because of financial costs. There are also lifestyle changes we can help to implement and mitigate the risk of contracting colon cancer. The main cause has been from binge drinking and unsustainable food in the gut. Junk food comes into play for a number of reasons. The food that we indulge in is a key factor for various reasons, especially in colorectal cancer, with high additives and preservatives. A 2023 from the University of California, San Diego, found that high-fat diets change the composition of the gut microbiome, encouraging growth of bacteria that boost the production of digestive molecules. To conclude, colon cancer can very well be prevented. Through the years, we have taken a step back from cancer and have not been as observant. We began by looking at the basic understanding of colon cancer. Then we took part in examining how to diagnose it, and finally, we researched how to prevent it early on. We all have a chance to catch it early. From Cora Connor, kidney cancer caregiver, it's possible not just to survive, but to thrive and to live a healthy, wonderful life again. It's always been an occurrence in this world. With the different methods listed throughout this speech, it is possible to spread the word of colon cancer and solve this problem. From colon cancer survival rate, the survival rate for colon cancer is 90.6% altogether. Let's team together and make it 100.
This is my series prose, Child Normalcy. So I can't say the word, sorry guys. I know you want me to talk. So fine, I'll talk. But I don't want to hear anything you have to say because it won't help. It won't. Whatever good intentions you have to figure me out and shrink my head into little bitty compartments, and I'm sure you have plenty of good intentions. You guys always do. Even if you do charge $100 an hour or something. I'm telling you, it's not going to work, and I don't feel like apologizing, okay? Grief can be all-consuming, and talking about the terrible things in our life can be really difficult. People say talking about it helps, that time heals all wounds, but I don't really think that's true. Grief is something that stays with us, especially when it results from a tragedy. Shauna, the main character in this story, is struggling to come to terms with the tragedy that has befallen her family. Can she ever find her way back to Normalcy by Bobby Kennison. My dad sent me here because he said we have to find some way to get back to some sense of normalcy. Whatever that means. To tell you the truth, our family was never even normal to begin with. It's not like you can look back before the incident or the tragedy, depending on who you are and how you want to say it. And really, I remember any time really growing up that really felt like it was normal. It wasn't all Jasper's fault either. He's not the only reason our family is all abnormal, no matter what anybody else wants to say. Even if he is responsible for the incident or the tragedy, whatever you want to call it. Personally, I hate both of those words. Incident is how some of the neighbors refer to it. They don't know what to say. It's not their fault. They've known the Grant family for years, have even known about all of Jasper's troubles. They don't know how to respond to it any better than I do. They don't know what to call it, so they say the incident. Of course, the police just call it the murder. You know what? I couldn't even say that word 2 weeks ago without throwing up. I can say it now, though. Murder. That's what the police call it, but that's not really right, though, not really. Tragedy is what the papers and the news shows say. What a tragedy, such a tragedy. Could this tragedy have been avoided, learning from the Grant tragedy? So sad, so sad, so sad, they say. These newscasters, every hair in place, carefully studied serious expressions on their faces, while inside their hearts are racing. They love tragedies. Tragedies mean ratings. If they really cared about human beings, would they stick a microphone and camera in my face and ask me how it feels to know that my older brother killed my mom? If they had any shred of humanity inside their tan plastic shells, would they ask a question like that? How do you answer a question like that? Well, Tim, it's not the best feeling in the world. Know what I mean? Or, it certainly has been a struggle, Tim, considering that, well, my mother is dead. And I'm the one who has to return to some sense of normalcy? What about these sick vultures, huh? How's what they do normal in any way? They feed on the fear and misery of others. And all of these people watching the story of the Grant tragedy, do you know what they're thinking deep down? Past the comments they say to each other like, those poor people and our prayers are with you. Underneath all those platitudes is a simple thought of better them than us. They thank God that this hasn't happened to them. I sometimes think my parents were the best human beings on the planet. We would argue. I'd get upset. They'd occasionally yell at me, but that was all just a part of growing up, you know? They never, and I mean never, treated me like I was their normal child, and they never treated Jasper like he was a different one. Ever. Jasper is just my older brother growing up. That's all he's ever been, my older brother. And I am his little sister. When things started changing, my parents did speak to me about making sure I told them if my brother's behavior became unusual or aggressive, and they would assure me it was just something that was inside of him, but that he was still my brother and he still loved me very much. Never noticed anything was wrong until I was 12. And what's the point? Jasper's 2 years older than me. He taught me how to ride a bike, you know? My parents had tried, and I would scream whatever they let go of the bike and refuse to try to ride it by myself. Thought I'd never be able to ride a bike without training wheels until Jasper took me out one day, took the training wheels off my bike, and said, Shauna, you gotta do this. Riding a bike is the closest we get to flying. Why are you afraid of flying? I told him I wasn't afraid. He held on while I started to pedal, and then without giving me a choice of the matter, he let go. I was going to scream, but he started yelling and encouraged me, keep pedaling, Shauna, you're doing it, you're flying, Shauna. Suddenly, I wasn't scared anymore. I just rode around pretending I was flying. I got back to Jasper, and he had this huge grin on his face, and he said, the whole trick of riding a bike is not to be scared of falling once in a while. I was so happy I had a big brother who would take the time to teach me these things. He was my hero. Never noticed anything was wrong until I was 12, when we were out raking the lawn, raking up big piles of leaves to jump in, and everything was fine until Jasper looked over at me, dropped his rake, and said, come here, I gotta tell you something. Thought he was goofing around, but he came closer to me, got right up to my ear, and said, Mom and Dad are trying to kill us. I was really freaked out, and I said, Mom and Dad are trying to kill us? He let me go and yelled, no! They wouldn't admit that. They told me they're saying it right now. Can't you hear them? He was so serious and so scared. Then about 5 minutes later, he went back to raking the leaves and didn't say another word about Mom and Dad. I'm sure you're all well aware that schizophrenics often start showing signs of it in their late teens or early 20s. Jasper was diagnosed when he was 13, but my parents didn't tell me until he was 14, and it was really starting to change him. When the voices got bad, I remember Jasper banging his head against the wall to get them to shut up. My parents pulling him back before he really hurt himself. I remember the pain in Jasper's eyes. I remember the different pills that were supposed to help. I remember the screaming at 3 o'clock in the morning. I remember my parents never, not once, losing faith or courage in the face of their son or with me. And 3 months ago, my father found my mother. I think he said something. My father had taken me to the mall, and my mom was at home with Jasper because he'd had a rough night. We got home, my dad stopped the car and got out. I started to get up too, but he stopped me. He went inside and saw my mom in the kitchen, dead. I got out of the car but didn't go inside. I heard my dad calling for Jasper. He sounded so soft and calm for a man who had just seen his wife's dead body stabbed 7 times with blood everywhere. But he called out softly for Jasper because he didn't want to scare him, and Jasper was in the living room finishing a model airplane. He looked up to my dad and said, "Hey Dad, where's Shauna? I think this is going to be ready for a test flight soon." The next day when my dad and I went to go visit Jasper at the institution, he walked right up to me, threw his arms around me, and said, "Where's Mom? They keep saying I did something awful to her. Why would they say that? Why would they say that?" I tried so hard to keep the tears out of my eyes, and I told him everything was going to be fine. He was going to be okay, and my dad and I loved him very much. Because we do. Do you know what? I have no doubt in my mind that my mother forgives Jasper for killing her, because people don't understand even now that it wasn't Jasper. Not really. I love the person who killed my mom. I love my brother. Even though he will never be able to fly again, he will be stuck behind those walls forever, but I still love him very much. Even though he stabbed my mother 7 times and took her away from us. So you tell me, how am I supposed to find the normalcy in that?
Do you want to say your name?
I don't know your name. Lily. Huber. Lily Huber.
I don't know if you guys care.
A humorous prose. Hello, my dears. My name is Mildred, and I'm here today to tell you about the amazing Lifesaver button and how it truly is a lifesaver. I'm a woman who treasures her independence, and the Lifesaver button allows me to stay in my own home. It gives me and my family the peace of mind that comes with knowing someone is always there for me in an emergency. Old people freak me out. No offense. They smell kind of weird. They use slang from the 1700s, and they're so brittle. I'm afraid that when I sneeze, old man Bert from next door will break a hip. But some of our geriatric friends aren't really concerned with the well-being of their bones, especially Mildred, the main character in the story. When Mildred is charged with doing a commercial in the latest in life-saving technology, she has a hard time buying it. But maybe wearing one of these newfangled devices isn't such a bad idea after all. Falling and not getting up by Bobby Kingston. I never thought I'd need a button like this. I used to laugh at all those commercials with those feeble old women falling over, yelling their heads off about how
until they couldn't get up. That's not going to be me, I said to myself. I'm never going to need to push some button to alert the authorities who have plenty of better things to do. Then I'd slipped and fell in my kitchen for making a plate of nachos that I shouldn't be eating in the first place. Now with my blood pressure the way it is, well, I'm not laughing anymore. 6 months ago, I went into my kitchen to get a glass of water. I'd just done my daily 12 miles on the elliptical machine, and I was feeling pretty good, even though I was all sweaty and stuck to high heaven. As I went to the sink, my cat, Mr. Four-Paws Hufflepuff, ran between my legs and tripped me. And I don't know if it was the 12 miles or the force of the fall, but I could not get up. I was as helpless as a beetle on his back. I just lay there kicking my legs around, trying to roll over on my tummy and see if I'd use my arms to push myself up. But it wasn't happening. The wind was not that easy. But when it came back, I started to holler for help, of course. Mr. Four-Paws Hufflepuff jumped on my chest and just stared in my face, not looking sorry at all. And then he starts knitting the way cats do, digging his claws into me. I tried to show him away, but he just looked at me as if to say, "Ha-ha, oh, they did it. Look who's in charge now." And then he laughed. Well, his eyes laughed. I could tell. He's always been a wicked cat, that one. It wasn't until 5 hours later he got bored tormenting me and wandered off. 5 hours is a long time to be stuck on the floor, especially for a woman like me. I've always been so active. Then I heard the screen door in my kitchen open and slam, and my best friend Gladys called out, "Yoo-hoo, Mildred, I've got your cookie platter." I learned that my best cookie platter against my better judgment, because she used to be my friend. That cookie platter had a great deal of sentimental value to me, and I should have known better than to lend it to a nitwit like Gladys, because the second she saw me on the floor, she screamed the full head off, dropping the cookie platter, smashing it to pieces. She cried out, "Oh, Mildred, what happened?" "What does it look like happened?" Pretty steamed about the cookie platter. "It looks like you've fallen and can't get up." Well, that put a burn in my craw because of all those old lady commercials, so I told her no, my stupid cat tripped me, and I just can't seem to move right now. Well, Gladys, idiot that she is, rushed over, trying to help me. I was about to warn her that her shoe was untied, but it was too late. She came crashing down, her fat face hitting me right in the stomach. Once again, the air was knocked out of me, but I just felt lost it nonetheless. I told her to get off me with as much air as I could muster. She turned her head out of my stomach and started whining, "Mildred, I can't move, I can't get up." "Well, this is a fine mess," I said, none too sympathetic. Well, her voice breaks even worse now, almost on the verge of tears. "I was only trying to help, and here you are yelling at me." I told her that I sure hadn't asked for her help, and I sure hadn't asked her to smash my best cookie platter and drive a thick skull into my stomach. That really set her off. And then she started wailing like a branded cow, telling me that she probably broke a hip, and that my homeowner's insurance should have to cover her medical costs and all that nonsense. Who invited her over? She barged right in. It's not my fault she can't tie her shoelaces and weighs a ton. She finally calmed down a bit, and we were both just lying on the floor for the next 3 hours. Gladys complained about how much I smell, and I reminded her that at least I worked out and took good care of myself and wasn't a fat pig like her who was sweating from just lying on the floor. I think it was about that time we decided it'd be best if we weren't really friends anymore. But what might I ask? Are two former friends supposed to talk about when they're so inconveniently intertwined with no end in sight? Lucky for us, we didn't have to find out. Because Gladys' son, Thaddeus, came tromping up the front steps and barged right into my kitchen, acting like he owned the place. Thaddeus looks at us a second and starts laughing like an asthmatic hyena.
I'm sorry, but you should see how you look.
And just when I thought Gladys couldn't get any stupider, starts laughing with him. Aha, aha, aha. It was at that moment I noticed Thaddeus wasn't wearing any shoes. He comes into my house barefoot, the slob. He starts over to help us, and wouldn't you know it, he steps on a piece of broken glass from the smashed cookie platter. He starts hopping around on his good foot, crying like a little baby, until his good foot lands on another piece of glass. And then he comes crashing down on his mother, who was then more smashed into me. And Gladys starts screaming,
What are we gonna do now? Who's gonna come look for us now? That was our only hope.
some hope, I thought. Finally, Toby rolls off his mama and starts to drag himself to the door, supposedly going for help. He reaches the door, pushes it open, and starts to pull himself outside with his arms. Then the door slams on him, and he starts crying. But over the sounds of his blubbering, I can hear sirens. Turns out, one of my other neighbors, the crazy guy with the blue hair who never goes outside, called the cops when he heard Gladys and I screaming. The police pull up, see the strange man slam stuck in my screen door, and they get on the megaphone telling him not to move or they'll shoot. And Daddy starts screaming,
Don't shoot, please, I'm too young to die.
It took the police 45 minutes to approach the house and find us all. Now, here it is. 6 months later, my former best friend and her failure son have sued me for physical and psychological damages. And I'm ordered by the court to wear this ridiculous button. And as a part of my community service, I have to make this commercial talking about how great it is. Let me tell you something. If you ever find yourself falling, just use the lifesaver button. It may not save your life, but maybe you won't lose your best friend or your favorite cookie platter.
Logan, this is extemporaneous, which is where you go to the meet with no prior preparation. You go in the room and you draw 3 topics out of like a hat. You pick one, and they're all current events, like questions, and you pick it, and you have an hour to research, write, and try to memorize the speech, and then you go in the room and you present it. This is a speech I did at our last meet in Pierce on Saturday, and I mean, I haven't looked at it since then, so it's a little choppy, that's why. Ever since Taiwan separated from China and became its own independent country in 1949, tensions have been extremely high between the two nations. Slowly but surely, the relations improved over the coming decades, but recently, they have escalated very quickly, and it is looking like China is taking the first steps in preparing to attack Taiwan. This brings me to the question, should the international community be concerned about the recent maritime escalations between China and Taiwan? The answer is undoubtedly yes. If action isn't taken quickly, things could get extremely bad. First, we'll take a look at China and Taiwan's past. Then, we'll look at the recent maritime escalations between China and Taiwan. And finally, we'll look at what could happen if China and Taiwan were to go to war. Things are looking very bad, and if a war does break out, it would spell trouble for people living in places all across the world. First, let's take a look at China and Taiwan's past. The Council on Foreign Relations says that Taiwan, formerly known as the Republic of China, separated from mainland China in 1949, forming what became a democratic haven for people living all across Eastern Asia. Taiwan has tried very hard to separate from the country peacefully, but China has constantly asserted that they are the one and only China, and have said many times that they will reunify with Taiwan no matter how much force it takes. It is very long believed by many experts that China is preparing to go to war with Taiwan to take the country back, and to this day they still refuse to recognize Taiwan as a country. Taiwan has its own constitution, democratically elected leaders, and an army of over 300,000 troops, and yet China still refuses to recognize them. All hope is not lost, though, as a January 15, 2024 Reuters article says that the European Union, all of Africa, and India all recognize Taiwan over China, and although the United States does not formally recognize Taiwan, they are a very large supplier of funding and resources for the Eastern Asian country. In addition to being a very large supplier of funding and resources, they also help extremely with supplying troops and weapons to the country and are a very strong ally of Taiwan. After Taiwan separated from China in 1949, tensions settled for a couple of decades in the 80s and 90s, but have been rising ever since, and things are just continuing to get very bad up to this day. Next, let's take a look at the recent maritime escalations between China and Taiwan. Many experts believe that China has started taking the first steps in preparing for a war with Taiwan. Taiwan is located on an island just off of mainland China, and the only thing that separates the two countries is a very small strait, and this strait is owned by Taiwan. However, recently, some Chinese vessels have been spotted moving towards and into the strait. And a February 19, 2024 Guardian article says that these Chinese boats have been spotted stopping Taiwanese vessels and are threatening to attack them, even having gone as far as capsizing a Taiwanese fishing boat, killing 2 people and injuring dozens of others. In addition to this, China is also creating blockades in the strait and attempting to keep resources out of Taiwan, creating mass shortages and price surges all across the country. The Atlantic Council says that Taiwan heavily relies on maritime trade, and the absence of the resources they get through this trade could result in the creation of mass hunger and disease, which will only lead to people dying of starvation and malnutrition. China has also stated that they are willing to use as much force as it takes to take back Taiwan, so the increased tension and the signs that they are preparing for a war lead many experts to believe that things could get very bad very quickly. Finally, let's take a look at what could happen if China and Taiwan were to go to war. A February 26, 2024 New York Times article says that China has completely run out of lines to cross in this area, and the next and only step for them to go to is to go to war. A war would be very bad for everyone because both of these countries, China and Taiwan, have extreme major world powers backing them. If these countries went to war, it could very easily result in a third world war, and I don't even have to explain why that would be a bad thing. If China were to attack Taiwan, the United States would likely interfere, which would lead to a war between the United States and China, which would essentially just be a war between Western and Eastern society, and this would be extremely bad, as both of these sides have extreme nuclear capabilities, and if they were to go to war, that would lead to very large nuclear tension, which would lead to everyone in the world living in fear of total annihilation. A February 2nd, 2024 Foreign Policy article says that China and Taiwan going to war would not only put the lives of many people at risk, but would also wreak havoc on the world's economy, leading to major price surges, shortages, shortages on everything from oil to coffee to clothes, and possibly even power outages in many major world cities. People all across the world will be hungry, scared, and jobless, and the lives of quite literally every single person in the world are hanging in the balance of whether or not something is done about these maritime escalations. China is one of the only countries in the world that has the power to get what they want done, and when what they want is hurtful to everyone all across the world, it does not look good. The question I was presented with today was, should the international community be concerned about recent maritime escalations between China and Taiwan? The answer is undoubtedly yes. If action isn't taken soon, the lives of everyone in the entire world are hanging in the balance. First, we looked at China and Taiwan's past. Then, we looked at the recent maritime escalations between China and Taiwan. And finally, we looked at what could happen if China and Taiwan were to go to war. Taiwan is one of the only bastions of democracy in all of Asia. And if something doesn't change, many people will die completely unnecessary deaths, and freedom all across the world will be at risk of dying out.
I totally did. Me? Oh, totally. Totally. There was a point. It was so funny. I was crying because I was yeah. I 100%
Let me see.
I think you're.
You add 5 points to your lowest first grade.
Yeah, I'm ready to do more though. Forgot about it.
You want me to have you do it?
You do it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, good, thank you.
I really want to see how
You did a good job.
I already know those.
Sure.